Ohio State took Notre Dame's best shot, stayed ready, and walked out with a big early season win on Jerry Lucas Day.
You are Locked On Buckeyes, your daily podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in, Buckeye fans, to Locked On Buckeyes Live. After Ohio State 64-63 win over Notre Dame on the hardwood, this show is a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Now the #1 sports podcast network. I'm your host, Jay Stevens, veteran sports talk host, delivering passionate coverage about your Buckeyes. And during this show, we will discuss the importance of Ohio State's battle with Notre Dame early in the season. But before we get to any of that, the Buckeyes entered this game undefeated, and they were seeking to find a way to win the first game against a power conference team. Yes, they have done some pretty good things early. They've also had some issues in the first 3 games of the season. But in the game against Notre Dame on Jerry Lucas Day, Ohio State and Jake Diebler found a way to put the blueprint together. So down the stretch, they put trust in a guy that had been a little faulty throughout parts of the game, and Christoph Tilly. He got a drive to the basket. He gave the Buckeyes a 1-point lead, and it ended up being a 64-63 win over Notre Dame. And in this game, it had a little bit of everything you wanted. It had Ohio State's struggle. Well, you don't want the struggles. Ohio State struggling early, and at Notre Dame fighting back and really having the lead and control of most of this game. You had Ohio State and Bruce Thornton in the second half scoring 13 of his 24 points in the second half of the game. You also had guys like Amare Bynum and Devin Royal making big plays on the defensive end. It had a lot. You had a guy in Marcus Burton and Jalen Harrison on Notre Dame's side that were playing great team ball that can go and get their own shot. Marcus Burton, I saw him play in high school. And one thing he could still do that he did back when he was playing up in northern Indiana was he was a crafty little guy. And he was shifty, and he knew how to properly use angles to score and to get to the free throw line. He did that. But for all of the good things Notre Dame did, and even some of the bad things or poor things Ohio State did, Ohio State found a way. When it seemed like there was no way for them to weather the Fighting Irish storm, they did that. They overcame some pretty poor shooting moments, but Bruce Thornton in the second half took over and really had complete control of the offense, and it was one that you needed a guy like this, needed this kind of lead guard to lead, to lead the way. Dealt with a little bit of a cough. Hopefully it does not last the entire show. But you needed this. You absolutely 100% needed this kind of game to test you. You want to see what you're made of. Because so far this season, before this game, Ohio State really hadn't played anybody. I don't like that phrase when it's used in football, but in basketball, it's a real thing. IU, Indy, Purdue, Fort Wayne, and Appalachian State. Those are not the kind of tests that Ohio State is expecting to have or will have in January or in February or even in the NCAA tournament. You need a game against Notre Dame, even in a lower scoring game, for you to realize, are we the team that we think we are? Are we moving in the right direction? Is our defense that had been an issue early in the season, has a defense kind of turning the tide and fixing things? Are we mentally strong and mentally tough enough to overcome a very strong and solid Notre Dame team that's very well coached? I got to give it to Michael Shrewsbury for the way he coaches these young men, because they were not afraid of the moment. They were not shying away from anything Bruce Thornton was doing, and they were even giving Ohio State some fits. But they found a way to win. In the final minutes, Christoph Tilly, final seconds actually, Christoph Tilly, a young man that is new to Ohio State, new to this brand of basketball, this level of college basketball. So you're wondering, does he have the goods? Does he have what it takes to overcome some of the issues he had in this game? And he did. The confidence that I didn't really think, I didn't have the confidence in Tilly down the stretch to make that shot to seal the win. But he proved me wrong. And I say that because in the first half of this game, it was one that was pretty poor for the Buckeyes defense. And their defense was not great in the paint. As I'm pulling this up here quickly, the Buckeyes gave up 24 points in the paint in the first half to Notre Dame. Ohio State only scored 8. 24 of Notre Dame's 34 points in the first half were inside the paint, and it was Tilly and Knoll and a lot of the bigs from Ohio State weren't able to keep their hands high and stay big and become a brick wall and not be soft. And at times they were a little bit soft in the paint, and Notre Dame took advantage of that. In the second half, on top of not only having Devin Royal and Amare Bynum be big and switching on to Jalen Harrelson and not allowing him to get off and be very comfortable with the ball in his hand. But you saw guys like a Tilly and a Knoll be big, be true big men, not just tall men, be true big men, hands straight up, becoming a guy, using the verticality rule because they realized that they had something that Notre Dame was not able to overcome. Now you have those little crafty guards that can go around the big men, but you have a team right now that didn't shoot well in the first half, only shot 36% from the field, 27% from downtown. The one thing outside of the defense that kept Ohio State in this game was their free throw shooting. They were 83% from the charity stripe. They made 19 of the 23 free throws. I think Michael Shrewsbury would say the one thing that plagued or hurt Notre Dame in this game was their free throw shooting, where they shot 12 of 20 from the charity stripe. The Buckeyes also didn't really turn the ball over in the second half. They only had one second half turnover. They had 19 points off turnovers. They didn't win the rebound battle, but some of the other hustle stats and the other moments where they fixed things very, very quickly in the second half, those were big. Also, it helps when you have a lead guard that can play the full 40 minutes of a game in Bruce Thornton. Bruce Thornton was a leading scorer in this game, 24 points on 8 of 15 shooting, had 4 rebounds, 2 assists, and while his numbers weren't higher, he was a floor general you needed in this game. Jake Diebler should be proud, very, very proud, and I'm sure he is, of the young man on the team and how they bounced back, kept their minds right in the midst of adversity, in the face of a team that you might end up meeting in the NCAA tournament. And let's say Ohio State makes it to the Sweet 16, the second weekend of the big dance, you might find yourself playing Notre Dame once again, because I would not be shocked if Notre Dame makes the NCAA tournament and if Ohio State finds a way to not have their normal Big Ten issues once Big Ten play begins. I can't be anything else other than excited and happy that Ohio State found a way to win this game, especially on Jerry Lucas Day, a man that has been celebrated all weekend. I believe, and I know he got a statue unveiled this weekend. He was just straight smiles. Governor DeWine was there. Jake Diebler was there. Ross Bjork was there. Just straight smiles and cheesing to be there on a very big day for a Buckeye legend. He dotted the I at halftime of the basketball game today. He was there at the football game as well, got recognized. I mean, it was Jerry Lucas weekend. It would have felt weird if Ohio State had Jerry Lucas there, the Buckeye legend, and didn't walk away with a win, but they found a way to weather a fierce Fighting Irish storm, to get a big basket from Christoph Tilly late in the game for the Buckeyes to win. Speaking of the Buckeyes winning, this game today was very, very big for the Buckeyes' early season success, early season improvement, but also a sign of maybe what's to come because they won a big battle with Notre Dame on Sunday afternoon. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Guys, the NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of the game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Once again, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. This episode is also brought to you by our friends at Game Time. We're in the midst of another thrilling college football season, and I couldn't be more excited. The tailgates, the rivalries, the energy in the stands, there's just nothing like it. But let's be real. Actually getting tickets can feel like more of a battle than the game itself. Endless queues, hidden fees, prices jumping at checkout. That's why I use Game Time, the app that gives the advantage back to fans. It's the easiest way to score last-minute tickets at the best prices with no surprise fees. What you see is what you pay. I pulled up Game Time, and in just a couple taps, I saw amazing deals. I'm talking about your favorite college football games as low as $25. The app made it super simple. I can even see the exact view from my seat before buying. I love zone deals too. Pick the section, Game Time picks the seats, and you save big. So take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply again. That's promo code LCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. Thank y'all for tapping and Locked on Buckeyes after Ohio State's 64-63 win over Notre Dame on Jerry Lucas Day. And early in any season, you want to see what you're made of. You want to find a matchup that you can circle to say, we're going to learn a lot about ourselves on this day. And I think Jake Diebler and the entire team was kind of preparing for this moment, not just because Jerry Lucas was going to be in the house, but because you wanted to see what you're made of against a team in Notre Dame that can match up with you, that had the same level of athletes as you, that had high-level recruits, the same kind that Ohio State would go after, had another really good head coach on the other side. I mean, they're making of a team that could be even with Ohio State. And on Jerry Lucas Day, a day that the team was preparing for all offseason, when it seemed like the Buckeyes weren't going to be able to weather the storm, they did. And they have to feel pretty good about themselves about being able to have a battle like this early in the season to prepare for the next couple of games before they get another big test. Ohio State coming up as a game against West Virginia on Thursday, and then the following Tuesday, that is the Tuesday of Thanksgiving, they have a home game against Mount St. Mary's. Then their next big test, it's on the road on the Friday after Thanksgiving at Pittsburgh. It was a game that Ohio State lost a year ago against Pittsburgh at home, so they want to get their lick back and want to go out there to the East Coast and leave there with the W. Now, I don't know if they're going to eat W's like Jameis Winston will be or is trying to do, but you know that Jameis Winston is goofy. And eating a W is something that I'm thinking about now because Jameis is playing this weekend. Well, that might be in their mind too, leaving and finding a way to get a W and eat it. I don't know why that came up. Jameis and his pressers are stuck in my head. But that's what you want to do. You have a couple more games against mid-tier level teams to learn from this game, put some pieces to the puzzle together, figure out which game plan works, figure out how quickly you want to employ some adjustments in a game to prepare for your first road game of the season coming at the end of November. Jake Diebler's team is sitting at a pretty good spot, and I would not be shocked if they're inside the top 25 after their win over Notre Dame today, because that's how good this team is right now. I'm not going to say they're great. I'm not. But if you are undefeated, you took down a power conference team, you've looked like how Ohio State has played right now, could they be 25? Yeah. Could they be 23? Yeah. You have a guy that's a lead guard in Bruce Thornton. They can figure things out throughout the course of a game. Even the fact that a game like this where John Mobley Jr. really was not a big factor, it was really a poor shooting night for him. 2 of 5 from downtown, 2 of 10 from the field, only had 9 points, added in 2 assists. He did make all 3 of his free throws, which was big. But it wasn't a night where you had 3 or 4 or 5 guys scoring in double digits. The only guys that scored in double digits today, Bruce Thornton had 24 and Christoph Tilly had 18. So it wasn't a great shooting day for the team overall at all. For the game, Ohio State was 19 of 50 from the field, 38% from the field, shot 30% from downtown. I mean, these are pretty poor numbers. You have a poor shooting night. You really struggle early in the game to defend the paint and protect the paint. I mean, Notre Dame got so many easy baskets down low. I mean, they're around guys that are trees, from a 7-footer, 7'1" guy and a 6'8" guy, a couple of 6'8" guys. You're thinking these guys have the frames. A few of them are 240 pounds. They have the frames and the size to combat and to slow down what Notre Dame is doing very well, and they weren't able to do that. Being able to weather this storm right now, early in the season, is a great benchmark. It's a great way for you to check a box and say, can we pass the Notre Dame test? Yes, check. Were we great shooting? No. Was it a great night defensively? No. What did you find? You found a way down the stretch to put a belief in a guy, in Christoph Tilly, that has struggled numerous times throughout the game to put the ball in the basket. You put your trust in the guy in Bruce Thornton to know that he could go the entire length of the game without coming out and to get the job done. Great. So you have trust in some guys. You have trust when your shot's not falling from a deadly marksman in John Mobley Jr. And what are you going to find? defensively, and Amare Bynum, Colin White, didn't mention him earlier, and also that Devin Royal, their defense is going to be very, very big. You're getting key contributions from guys that are starters and also guys that are some of the first couple of guys off the bench to win a game against a power conference team. You have to feel really good about yourselves. The Buckeyes, next game, like I mentioned, is this coming Thursday. It's an 8 p.m. tip on Big Ten Network. The game after that, it's also on the Big Ten Network the following Tuesday. And then that Friday, the Friday before the game against Michigan, it's at Pittsburgh. It's a 7 p.m. tip on ESPN. Very happy that game was on ESPN. I miss watching Ohio State games on ESPN. Also, shout out to FS1. This is the first game Ohio State's played this year that has been on national TV. They've all been on Big Ten Network or BTN Plus, more regional variety and regional feel. That felt like a big game, and FS1 knocked the broadcast out of the park. Just like Ohio State and Christoph Tilly, they knocked the final seconds out of the park for Ohio State to secure a 64-63 win over the Fighting Irish on Jerry Lucas Day. Thank you all for tapping in Locked on Buckeyes Live. You can follow me on any social media platform at jstevens07. Send every email to jstevens317@gmail.com. Guys, this has been Locked on Buckeyes after Ohio State's win over Notre Dame. We'll talk to you tomorrow morning.